Greetings, Star Wars fans! Welcome to Dark Horizon Creations. I'm Mike, and today we're taking a look back at the Kessel Run Millennium Falcon electronic vehicle and playset by Hasbro. Now, this was released earlier this year around April, I believe, to coincide with the May release of Solo, a Star Wars story. And it's a very, very fascinating toy. Now, those of you that follow my articles on Outer Rim News, you've seen the written review that I've done on this product, as well as the fact that I've previously customized one of these ships. But I had not done a video review of it. One reason for that is because I had no intention of buying this toy. When I first saw it at Toy Fair, I knew that it was going to be a smaller iteration of the Falcon. As a matter of fact, it is the smallest iteration of the Millennium Falcon produced by Kenner and Hasbro for the 3 3/4 inch action figure line. However, once I got it in hand, I really began to appreciate the design and features of the toy and just the overall appearance. It is completely different from anything that has ever been done before with the Millennium Falcon. It's a very, very fun toy to play with. And I really appreciate all the effort that went into designing and producing this version of the Falcon. And I'm certain if you're a collector of Star Wars toys that you'll want to add this to your collection if you don't have it already. So to begin with, I want to talk about the packaging. The packaging is very, very nice. Of course, you can see here the artwork of the Falcon in an action sequence, the panels popping off as they do. With some of the lights and sound features that the toy includes. But there are some differences about this packaging. The first thing I want to point out is in the lower right hand corner. They have excluded a window panel for the figure and the accessories. And they have opted for a printed image of those. And the reason for that is because on the left hand side of the box you see a very large window panel that is there to demonstrate the light and sound effects of the toy. At the top of the box there's a cutout section for Try Me feature where you can depress one of the buttons which will activate the lights and sounds in a demo mode. Now this isn't the actual way that these lights and sounds operate when you're playing with a toy. That works a little bit differently. But I will depress that now so that you guys can see the demo version of that. So that's the store demo version of some of the lights and sounds and the rumble features. And it really doesn't do justice until you have the toy outside of the box, you have it assembled, and you actually go through the different sequences of playing with the toy. Now I'm very limited in the room that I have, but there are some other features on the packaging. On this side is a brief bio of the Millennium Falcon. And then on the back, of course, you have your obligatory product images. And you can see here the actual scale of the toy in comparison to a 3 3/4 inch action figure. Inside the cockpit, there is only room for one figure. There's only one seat that is molded into the cockpit. I guess you could sort of squeeze Kira in there beside Han. We might try that while we're doing this. But it's just very, very limited room. There is no room inside the ship to pose any of the figures or have them sit down at the Dejaric table or anything. None of that is there on this toy. And that's been a point of contention with a lot of collectors just because those features have been removed. The reason for that is to incorporate the motion activated light and sound effects and some of the other features that Hasbro has decided to include with this particular version of the Falcon. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause the video and we're going to remove the ship from the packaging and we'll come back and see what it's all about. Stay tuned. Alright guys, we're back with the Hasbro Kessel Run, an electronic Millennium Falcon playset and vehicle. Now before we actually take a look at the toy itself, I wanted to show you guys what's included inside of the packaging. First and foremost, you have your instruction booklet, which is kind of a tri-fold booklet. Folds out in a couple different pages. On this page you have placement of the decals, and they're all interior. They go in the cockpit here and the two aft compartments back here. As well as up here it shows you the panel placement for the exterior panels, how the coaxium container fits inside of the escape pod. You fold it out here. It shows you how the figure fits in the cockpit and the escape pod up here attaching to the front of the ship. As well as in this compartment, it shows you how the coaxium container fits in there. The forward part of the escape pod has two flip-out cannons, which we'll take a look at in a moment. And then it shows you the force link features for the escape pod itself. This page just shows you how to operate the lights and sounds. And of course over here it shows you battery placement. It does operate off of 3 AA batteries. And just your usual warnings on the back. Here is the decal sheet. And as you can see, they're very limited, very small, unlike previous iterations of the Falcon. Particularly the legacy ship from, I think, 2008, which had a tremendous amount of decals that had to be attached to it. Inside the box there's also 3 baggies. The first one contains the escape pod, and this is what it looks like. On the bottom you have your force link symbol. Here's the interior of the compartment. You can see it's very, very plain. It's designed just for the figure to lay down on the inside of it. That is it. And that little port right here is for the coaxium container to fit on the inside. It can attach in there. And on either side it has these flip out cannons, which I get, but I don't really care for. It doesn't really add anything to the Falcon itself. It's just another gimmick for the escape pod. The back of it has some nice detailing for the thrusters and then the control vanes here and here. For those of you that like to customize your toys like I do, this presents an awesome opportunity for a repaint. And if you guys follow me on Instagram, you've seen a couple pictures of the previous repaint that I did on this ship for the review for Outer Rim News. But I'm going to be doing a repaint on this one as well. The other baggie contains all of the pop-out panel sections on the inside. And last but not least, you have the Han Solo figure with his DL-44 blaster, the dorsal cannon, the coaxium container, and your radar dish in this one. Now the ship itself, as you can see, is really nice. It does look like the Millennium Falcon, even though it is a smaller scale. It is approximately 19 inches in length, 15 inches wide, and roughly 4 inches in height. The cockpit compartment here will pop open once I remove the little rubber band holding it in place. As you can see, it has room for one figure and one figure only. And we'll remove Han Solo here and see if we can get him to fit in there. I didn't like the previous Han Solo figure with the first ship that I had. The joints, and on this one, they're really loose. I didn't like that. And you can see his head's on a nice tight ball joint there. Forward movement at the shoulder, wrist swivel, which is really loose, and movement at the hips again, which is really loose. I don't really care for that, but you can you can sort of place him inside the cockpit here, way back up in there, and that's pretty much it. Now I said we would try to get Kira to fit in there beside Han, since she is a much smaller figure than Chewie. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll try. Not unless she's sitting in his lap, which I'm sure he wouldn't mind. But you can see the control panel's it's not gonna close in there with Kira in there. And that's pretty much it. It's a very, very small cockpit. You can see the battle damage sections here on top of the mandibles. And other than the blue accents on the panel, there's really no coloration to the ship, which is not a problem. There's a lot of nice detail in there with the panel lines and notch marks here. This is one of the compartments here, and the coaxium container can fit down in that one. Of course, you see the exposed engine sections here and vents. And then there's the other compartment. Again, the action figure can only be laid down inside these compartments, as you'll see in a moment. There's no other compartments here. Your radar dish attaches here, and your dorsal cannon attaches up here. On the bottom of the ship, the landing gear is molded in, as you can see, as well as this cannon. I really, really dislike this. I'm considering taking a Dremel and slicing that off just so it has a decent looking barrel to it. I don't like how it's molded all into one piece. The forward landing gear is actually the pressure plate for the motion activated sound effects, which you'll see in a moment. Once the ship is lifted up off of a table or other surface, this extends, which activates the light and sound effects that are motion activated. Here's one of the buttons on the side to press sound effects for the cannon and the concussion missile launcher. The other button is on this side. So as far as the panel sections, they snap on fairly easy. And you can see again, they're very, very thin. This is very thin plastic that the entire toy is made out of. And they have these notches that you just kind of push down into place like that. I'm going to remove the action figure for a moment so you guys can see how the figure fits in the back. Like in this compartment, Han won't even go in there. That's how small it is. In this compartment, he can lay in there. Chewbacca can actually fit in here as well, just laying down. That's it. Nothing more. And for these back panels, this wedge shape one, actually snaps into place there. Smaller wedge shape one fits there. And then you have two for the rear of the ship. And they just snap in like so. And as far as the escape pod, this is the top part. It just slides in here. Now one thing I do want to show you, there are lights on the front of the Falcon, so if you're playing with it without the escape pod, you will see these light up blue. But as long as you have the escape pod attached, you won't see them. Now the radar dish just plugs right into this port here. And the dorsal cannon snaps in there. And it can turn very limited, about 120 degrees. But that's better than nothing. Now for the coaxium container, if you wanted to store it, say in the escape pod, it's got this peg that just plugs into that port right there. In the back of the ship, if you wanted to put it in this compartment, you simply take it and slide it down like that. And that's how it fits in there. Now for the lights and sounds. On the bottom of the ship, on this mandible, is this switch. Now I've got it turned off because it's got three features. Pushed all the way forward is the actual lights and sounds, in the center is the try me section. So you want to push it all the way forward, and you want to set the ship down like this. So on the side you have this button which activates the engine sound effects, and on the other side this one activates cannons and concussion missile launcher. And there's no light up features for those. And to get it to take off, you just lift off and it changes the pitch as you bank it left and right as you move it around. Now once you press it one time, the lights light up like this for the engines. You press it again, and it vibrates. You press it a third time, and that's basically all there is to it. That's what it does. It's pretty neat to play with. It makes a great addition for diorama, particularly with the other figures from Solo. But as you can see, it is not a large toy at all. It is very, very small. And I'll remove the escape pod. And to remove it, you just pull it straight out. It doesn't have any other light up features to it. If you lift it off, you can see the lights on the front. Now for the escape pod, it does have the force link feature to it. And you can hear the blaster fire from the small cannons. And that's basically all the escape pod does. Yes, and the force link will even tell you when the battery's dying. And again, Han does include his DL-44 blaster, which has a tendency to not stay in the holster. And the reason for it is the holster is closed. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's is closed on the bottom. It's not an open holster. So for it to stay in there, you basically have to keep his hand beside of it. He's a neat action figure, but as far as the 3 3/4 inch line, I prefer the one that was included with the Force Link. It's a nicer figure overall. It's got tighter joints on it than this one, and I'm waiting on the Vintage Collection version to be released. It's fully articulated and much nicer as far as the sculpting and detail than these two, but still a nice figure. And of course he has Force Link as well.
Maybe you heard of me? Best pilot in the galaxy. Come on, get us out of here!
Now for those of you who haven't heard that, that's a deeper voice. And it's more in line with, you know, Harrison Ford's voice.
Low battery.
Yes, thank you. And I like that a lot with the Force Link feature. I think they did a phenomenal job on that. So ladies and gentlemen, there you have the Kessel Run Electronic Millennium Falcon by Hasbro. I hope you guys have enjoyed the review. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. Check out my Facebook page by the same name, where I show all of my custom vehicles and dioramas that I do. I also do custom weapons and props. If you guys are interested in getting something on commission, you can message me through the Facebook page or email me directly at darkhorizoncreations@gmail.com. If you guys haven't checked out Outer Rim News, please do so. Outer Rim News is the fastest growing Star Wars news website today with over 19,000 followers and subscribers worldwide. They cover everything from commentaries to collectibles, comics to live action films, the animated series, conventions, video games, and much, much more. Outer Rim News is a very reliable source for Star Wars news, and everything that they bring to you guys is accurate, it's relevant, it's timely, and just very, very phenomenal. Ashley and all of the guys over there do a phenomenal job with the work that they bring to Outer Rim News. And I encourage you to subscribe to their podcast, check out them on Twitter, Instagram, and I think you'll enjoy the content provided by Outer Rim News. Thank you guys for watching the video review. Stay tuned. There's more to come.